Hey, Gens fans, Matt Sossler here, joined by head coach Bryan Erikson. And coach, after a tough week, what has practice looked like over the course of this week?
It's been a really hard practice. We did kind of battle day on Monday where it's just all one-on-one battles, wall battles, guys hitting each other, guys competing for spots, especially after I thought we got physically mangled by Johnstown. You're not going to fix it in one day, but at least you get the compete level. You talk to guys about how to approach battles, making sure that they're on the right side of the puck and doing what they're supposed to do with their stick. And it was a good day. It separated some guys from other guys. Some guys stepped up that you kind of weren't expecting to. Some guys didn't step up that you were hoping would. Yesterday's practice was pretty good. We're trying to kind of dumb down some of the systems to maybe, see if we can get guys out of their own heads, and it's not necessarily that our systems are too complicated, but also at the same time, kind of want to get kids just focused on, giving 1,000% each shift and making the systems a little bit easier for them to kind of understand where F1 stays in this lane, F2 stays in that lane, F3 stays in that lane. And, D, you're aggressive here, not there, but, there's not a ton of like if and thens. If they do this, then I got to do this, and then I got to do that, and this guy's got to, so that's where it gets complicated. So we just want to kind of free it up a little bit, let these guys get back to having fun playing hockey and see how we do.
And going off of that, you mentioned changing some of the systems, making things simpler. How do you plan on rebounding this week as opposed to what happened last week?
Yeah, I mean, I think, you take we kind of just moved on, right? Like obviously the practice on Monday was a lot harder, but I'm not out there yelling about Johnstown. Like those games are over. We lost them. Like there's nothing we can do to change the fact that we lost them. All we can do is look forward to trying to get better and improve. So, for us, the biggest thing that we've talked about is one shift at a time, and I think any kid, not just the Generals players, but any players, you win 5-1, you're the best team in the world. You lose 8-0, you're the worst team ever. And neither statement's true. And you got to tell them that, all right, if we go to Maine, we're down 1-0 after the first period. It's not the end of the world. Just line up. Let's keep battling through, right? You don't have to change the game. The game isn't predetermined just because you fall down 2, you're up 2. It still needs to flow out. You still need to play hard. You still need to do the simple things. And I think sometimes we're guilty, and we're guilty as coaches too, of, buying into our own hype and buying into success from one period to the next. And we got to make sure we're, remembering what made us have success and keep it going, or what made us not have success and try to change it. So, for us, the focus is really on effort this week and, establishing our forecheck and establishing some physicality. We know Maine's a great team. We've played them, 42 times now. And, we just played them 5 times in a row. We went 2-2-1. Didn't love that outcome, but it was better than going 0-2 in Johnstown. So we're hoping that, with the addition of some new guys and also the kind of recommitment of some of the guys that are here, that we're going to be a hard team to play this week. Wins and losses, I'm really not focused on that after last weekend. You got to focus kind of on effort and execution more than you can about a break or a bounce of the puck here or there. You got to focus on little steps, and we're going to focus on that first shift, and we'll focus on that second, then we'll focus on that third.
And you mentioned going up against Maine a month ago, like you said, took 5 out of 10 points from them. What's your approach to success this weekend?
Just like I said, just simplify one shift at a time. Bring the effort, bring the energy. We know they're going to be fast. We know they're going to be well coached. We know they have a deadly power play. We got to stay out of the box. But when you lose the way we lost last week, you don't spend too much time focusing on your next opponent. You spend more time focusing on yourself. And I think a lot of the issues that we saw were internal issues. And yeah, we tried to bring some guys in from the outside to help correct that. Maybe light some fires. But at the end of the day, like it's got to be within the kids to just go out. It's not about giving a hard 45 seconds. It's about giving a hard and smart 45 seconds. And that's kind of where we lose it sometimes, right? We had guys that obviously effort was an issue down in Johnstown, but we also have guys that were over trying. Like they're trying to hit a grand slam every time they get on the ice. Like can't score 4 goals in one shift. Let's just worry about chipping pucks, getting into our system, showing showing our style, starting to wear them down, and then hopefully you chip some goals in instead of everything needs to skate from end to end because you're trying to do too much. There is a point of diminishing returns with effort.
Yeah, like you mentioned sort of morale aspect and guys trying to do too much. How has the morale been with the team, and what's the overall attitude heading into this weekend?
Um, Guys knew that we were going to make changes, and unfortunately, um, it's always a tough part, and it's been kind of a somber. It's been less boisterous on the ice, and we need to change that today. I just talked to them. I just got out of the locker room, and we made some moves that we did, and we moved guys out. We brought guys in. That part is kind of over for right now, and like guys just need to focus on the weekend. And I think kind of waiting through the weekend till Tuesday to kind of do that put a lot of pressure, mental stress on the kids. Am I going to be here? Am I not going to be here? And that kind of translated over to the emotions in practice where guys we're a little nervous, and luckily that meant that they battled a little bit harder in practice and bared down, and we showed them and told them that that's what we need to do every week. You got to pretend that you're fighting for your job, because at the next level, college, or if you get to pro, like that's exactly the situation you're going to be in week in and week out. So we're looking to turn the effort level's been great. The execution's been great. I'd like to see the kids have a little bit more fun. Remember, we're playing hockey. It's not, we're not in war, and we're not doing anything, crazy. At the end of the day, it's a game. And, does it stink that we lost? Yeah. Is it that big of a deal? No, not really. And for me, it doesn't, 2 wins don't define us. 2 losses don't define us. If we lost both games 1-0, we'd still be upset that we lost. If we won both games 1-0, we'd be happy that we won. But at the end of the day, we'd just be moving on from one weekend to the next.
And last question, looking at more of an individual level, who are 2, 3, maybe even 4 players who need to really kick it into high gear to sort of right the ship? I know the whole team had, like you mentioned, has been doing a good job. They've been battling harder, but if you had to think of 3 or 4 guys who not need to step it up from a performance level, but guys who need to be there, who would they be?
Yeah, I think, and the one, before I answer that, the one thing that we talked about, right, we brought in Jaden Jensen from the Austin Bruins, 6'4" defenseman, right shot. We brought in Hunter Olson from the Austin Bruins, kid that just plays like block shots with his face, like just really hard player. We brought in Dalton Wright from Bismarck, a Union commit. And the unfortunate part is like, yeah, that's exciting in some cases, but that means that I failed my job of getting the most out of some kids that aren't here, right? And I told kids too, like, just because you're not the one that's getting released or traded doesn't mean that you didn't have a contributing factor into that. If we play better, we don't make moves, and sometimes guys that are on higher lines or guys that have past records of performance, they get saved a little bit, even if they didn't have a good weekend. And sometimes it's the bottom of the roster that ends up, kind of paying the price. And so that was a tough transition. So when you talk about guys that need to step up, from a play standpoint, everybody does. From a leadership standpoint, we need guys like Sasha or Alexander Tatoshny to step up. He needs to play better. This is stuff we talked about with him. Kyle Schroeder, effort's never an issue, and we actually had to talk to him about kind of calming down a little bit. Like sometimes there's a point of diminishing returns on effort, and you're trying to do too much, and therefore you're kind of getting out of the game plan. I like to see Liam McCanny. Liam McCanny didn't have a great weekend, but he's a great player and he's a great kid, and I know he'll bounce back. And you got Dylan Schuett, who's our captain, right? And he's got to make sure that he's setting the tone, right? Whether that's just finishing hits, whether that's being vocal on the bench. I mean, all 4 guys that I mentioned are guys that I only mentioned because they've done such a great job for us over the last 2 years or 3 years in some cases. And I expect it to be a momentary blip, not something that's actually, they've got a proven track record of success. They got a proven track record of the respect of the locker room. They got a proven track record of playing hard and playing correctly. So I think we need those guys to just lead the way a little bit, just show guys like, okay, Instead of making that 60-foot sauce pass, why don't we just do a 5-foot chip by the guy and go get it? Let's just play fast. Let's play physical. Let's play smart. Let's play simple. So I'm relying on some of the veterans, some of the guys that usually can get away with playing a little bit more sexy, for lack of a better term, to also just simplify their game. And then once the new guys get here, we'll try to acclimate them into the lineup. We got Brent Kiefer in. He practiced with us yesterday. He's electric, but is he going to be the cure-all? No, none of the guys are. It's got to be a mentality in the locker room. It's got to be a mentality on the ice. It's got to be a mentality from the coaching staff. I got to do a better job of coaching. Anytime I cut kids or have to trade for kids to come in with Matt Dibble, I look at it as I failed, and I did a bad job because I put ourselves in a position where we needed to bring kids in to right the ship. So that hurts from a personal standpoint. So you ask some guys to step up that can handle it. Adam Smith, quiet kid, but steps up and hits kids. And we talked yesterday about the difference between being reckless stepping up and being smart stepping up. And we watched video with him, and Eric did a good job breaking it down for him. And those are kids that have been here. They know what we're trying to accomplish, and they're very happy here. So from a morale standpoint, we're fine. But that's saying that, like, it's great for everybody to have fun, and that's the goal. But we also want everybody to get better. And a lot of times that means wins and losses, but it also just means improving your consistency and improving your level of play week in and week out. So you can get that Division I commitment, or if you're already committed, or Division III commitment, or whatever, that you can go to that school and be a more impactful player. It's not just about getting that commitment to whatever school. It's about being a vital piece of that lineup at that school. And our job is to continuously do that, whether we're 6-13 or 19-0. It doesn't change the narrative of what we're trying to accomplish here. It's all about the kids, and I got to do a better job making sure I'm supporting them.
Yeah, I think that was a really, really strong answer. And yeah, you mentioned guys like Sasha, and I have no doubt, knowing them, that they'll be able to step it up, get it together, and the guys that are called on to right the ship and get the show back on the road. That's going to wrap up this interview. Again, for head coach Bryan Erikson, I'm Matt Sossler. Let's now send it back to the recap.